Well, hello and welcome to my afternoon chat this week. I start with an It's been a bit of 2 weeks since I saw you last, and I've had an argument. I've been told that I look pretty. That's okay, but does it mean anything? Yeah, I've got things to show you, and I've been busy. And I've also been, washing machine head again. Oh, goes round and round in my head. What does that mean, washing machine head? It means I'm confused, basically, and I've got to sort it out. So I'm hoping this afternoon, if you've got time, well, it might be my morning for you. You might be listening to this at 5 o'clock in the morning or 12 o'clock at night. I don't know, at whatever time it is. If you've got time to join me in a chat, please do, because I need you. I need you to sort out my head. Well, shall I start at the beginning? Hello, my name's Penny. I live in the southeast of England with my husband, Pete. My channel's about my life. About my life, my family, how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, what I'm making along the way, how I make it, the mistakes I make, the things that go right, the joys. That's what it's all about. So if you're in the mood to join me and you haven't ever joined, participated before in my chat, then please do. I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you. So the last couple of weeks, what's been happening, as I say, washing machine head, I've had an argument, I've been told I look pretty. Shall I tell you who told me? Well, I got a new dress. I fancied it. You know, we like bird watching. And look, Marshland, I think it's called, something like that. I just couldn't resist it. It's really pretty. Well, I love it. And I was washing and ironing it, before I put it on. And as I was ironing it, I came across a label. I'll put up what I came across, otherwise I'm going to have to search the whole hem. You look lovely today. It made me jump. I was ironing away. You look lovely today. What a lovely thing to put on a new dress. And I just love wearing it because, well, I just do. It's beautifully made. I love sea salt clothes. For me, they're beautiful. It's lined, it's organic cotton. And it's all beautifully lined, so you don't need to wear a slip or anything. Can you see? It's so soft, organic cotton. And so that's it. Just plop it on, lovely and cool. And compliments all round. Well, let's calm me down. That's a better note to start on, isn't it? Shall I tell you about the argument first? Because I think most of you know I'm not the argumentative type. In fact, if somebody tried to have an argument with me, do you know what? Well, one, I couldn't think of the words to argue back. I might feel cross inside afterwards, but I sort of go a bit dumb. Yeah, it's not me. An argument isn't me. And to be honest, looking back over my life, I don't think I've ever had an argument with anyone. I mean, when Pete and I were first married and we discussed money things, how's the money doing this week? We couldn't help ourselves. We didn't argue, but we got grumpy. I think we still probably do get a bit grumpy. When you talk about money, grumpiness happens, doesn't it? But argument, no. I can't recall one. Probably I'll have one tomorrow now, won't I? But anyway, I had an argument with myself. Well, I'll show you who I had an argument with. Do you recognise him? Well, I think it was last year, probably. If you're new, I was a counsellor for the NHS. And, oh, your elbow's very worn. Good. That's because you've been elbowing people. Look. You just stop it. So, oh no, you can see how you could have an argument with him, can't you? And that's who I had an argument with. I practice TA, transactional analysis. In fact, if you look back, I have done a little series on transactional analysis. And in TA, as we call it, we have ego states in ourselves, and we have the controlling parent. And this is the controlling parent that really, you know, all the times that we've heard in our lives, school teachers, you know, just people of authority, they just, yeah, tell us what to do. Should, ought, must. And you know, in the last episode, I found myself saying should, ought, must, and I should. And then I said, hang on a minute, I don't use those words should. I use the word want or can. The voice inside me, my controlling parent, was saying, you should clear your backlog of whips, works in progress, before you go on to anything else. It made me feel really grumpy and out of sorts. You should clear your whips. Well, I asked myself the question, well, I asked him the question in adult. Adult is the here and now. Adult is our voice of reason. I want to say to him, why? Why should I clear my backlog? Oh, well, because it would be very wrong, he says, to start anything new until the backlog's done. Yeah, maybe we were told that when we were children, you know, at school. Finish your homework, finish that assignment before you go on to the next one. Finish making that, finish doing that, and then you can start something new. You know, if I can't start something new because I want to, yeah. So this controlling parent came in. This is the negative controlling parent. You should, ought, must. And this is the one that says, yeah, before you cross the road, look left and right. The sensible things that we have to do in life, thoughts, feelings and behaviours that we've learned in the past, and we've brought them into today, and these are the good ones. Oh yes, of course we're going to obey the laws. I drive on the left, you might drive on the right. We do all of those things because we need to. But we don't have to listen to a should, ought, must. So once I'd washing machine had that out of my system, I felt a whole lot better. Now, all that stuff that I showed you is all still on the spare bed. And I love it. I go in there and I look at it and I say, well, in fact, I've added to it. I've put my wedding dress on there with the other two dresses that I made in the 70s and the Holly Hobby. Those things are going to be amalgamated. I'm not quite sure how, but they are going to be. And I can't wait to start them. But you know, I've got to be in the mood. In the mood. I can't just start them just because I should before I start something else. I'll start them when I'm good and ready. And then I'll zip through them, you know. Ooh, it's thirsty work, this chatting, this afternoon chat. So, the nurturing parent, she said, how are you? How are you? What do you want to do? Take care of yourself. So I have. And in the last 2 weeks, I've made a quilt for my little great-grandson, Tommy. And because he's in a bed now, and he needs one for his bed. And it hasn't taken me long. Again, this one was talking to me. Do you know what he said? You make everything by hand, don't you? I mean, I've made goodness knows how many double bed quilts, anyway, bigger than that, all by hand. I sit and I love it. I sit and I make them by hand, and then I quilt them by hand. And I love them and I love doing it. It's a process that I love, but I wanted to make this on the machine. But there was this voice saying, but you don't do it on the machine. You're not a machine girl. Well, do you know what? I'm 75 in August, and I think it's about time that I became a machine girl, because if I sat and made Tommy a quilt now, all by hand, it would take me quite a while. And I've got one to make for George, my other great-grandson, and my daughter wanted one, Nicola, who's Tommy's nan, because she's got a little bed now for him when he stays over. So I've got quite an order of quilts to do. So in the last week, I've made one for Tommy, and I've pieced together a quilt for Nicola, and I've got enough fabric for one for George. So I've been busy. I'll show you that in a minute. So thank you for letting me tell you all that. I feel ever so much better. Sharing really helps. It really does. And what I love about crafting is that it's a personal thing. It's a joyous thing. It's something that helps. Do you remember I said it helps with problem solving, and it helps with, well, I made a big mistake and I overcame the mistake. So it's good for you. It's good for you. Doesn't have to be perfect. Wabba sabby, we know that. Take joy in imperfection. Right, well, I've run out of steam now, so that's good. I'll quieten down a bit. Well, I feel a bit embarrassed because as I was making the quilt, I filmed it, and then I made a big mistake, and I thought, I can't show you that. How can I show you something that I filmed, something that I've made with a great big mistake in it? But, well, I thought it might give you heart, because we all make mistakes, don't we? It's how we overcome them. It's what happens, isn't it, through that mistake. Well, as it happens, the mistake I made was the best thing I could have done. So that's good. And when I look back on the film, well, my dad bought me this. Don't make me use my teacher voice. I know. Well, and probably when I'm doing it and showing you, I use my teacher voice. So if you're a prolific quilt maker and you don't want to watch me making a quilt, and making mistakes, then I'll give you the, you know, it's all time stamped down the bottom. Just skip the next bit, and then it'll be as if magic that I show you the quilt. Before I do that, this is what I did. I put on my spare bed the piles of things that I showed you last week, and I labelled them. Ongoing, can't wait, and get on with it. See, that's what irritated me. Get on with it. Don't tell me to get on with my own crafting. So, thank you very much. I'll do what I want when I want. And this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to make Tommy a quilt and piece one for my daughter. So I'll show you. It's all done. I'll show you it up close because I have taken photos of it, and you'll see it laid down. So I wanted to do, and you see that, I wanted to do large stitches. Oh, I tell you what, I'll put the video up and then I'll come back. So I'll say, see you in a minute. Well, I thought I'd open the fabrics with you. Elmhirst Fabrics, thank you so much. I ordered that, I think on Friday morning, and here we are, it's Monday lunchtime. Oh, I hope I like them. I feel very nervous. Crinkle, crankle. Isn't that gorgeous? So that's one. Oh, here's the seed heads. I thought that would go with. Yeah? What do you think? Okay. Oh, here's the next one. So we thought that that would go with that. We hope so anyway. I think it will. So pretty. Oh, I can't wait. This is the thing, isn't it, when you craft. Oh, look at this one. I went for this one because it had a greenish background. Oh, sleeping animals, I think. Badger. And because it's all by the same company, the dyes are all going to be the same. It's all going to blend. Oh, this has got the pale blue. Oyster catcher. Lovely. Yeah. I thought that would be nice to go with the birds. Damselflies, frogs, snails. Oh. Nuthatch, goldcrest, robin. Oh, they're only in Scotland. We've seen them. Crested tits. They're really pretty. So that's my 9 fabrics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Can you see those? And then I chose this for the background, for the edging, you know, this, because I thought that, how can I show you? It picks up every little bit of, you know, brown. If you press the seams of one down and your next line you press it up. When it comes to join, it's very neat because the bulk's up there and the bulk's down here. There's the join. You do it completely differently when you do it by hand, but as you know, I'm doing this on the machine. So my next row will be, if I've pressed this that way, then my next row will be pressed this way so that it nests. So here's the instructions, twist and stitch instructions. I've sewn my borders on like that. I've sewn my squares, and now I'm going to cut them wherever there's a seam. I'll show you. So here we go. Let's get the top of my quilt. It's a big one, as you saw. So here's the beginning of it. We have to put the stitch and twist onto that first seam. Here's my first seam, down here and across here. So I did the 10.5 inch, which is the outside one, and I have to put the lines on the lines. There it is. Can you see that? The line is going on the stitch line. And now I'm going to put my cutter into the last slider. If I was making smaller squares, I'd put it in the 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got all of those choices. I chose to do the large one. So line it up. That's it. And I'm going to make my first cut. I'm going to cut. Keep it steady. I'm going to cut. You can't make a wrong cut because it's in the groove. I'm now going to twist. So that's still lined up with the seam, if you can see. However, my cutting line now is here. Here's my first block. So now I need to put that down, because once you've cut this and you're not putting it straight in rows, you're sunk. So I'm going to lay that down, and I'm going to now have the confidence to move along. So wherever you see a seam, here's a seam. All pressed in the right way. I'm going to line that up. The border's slightly different because I haven't got a seam along the border. So now I've got my seam lined up with that line, and I've got my seam lined up with that line. So now I'm going to put my ruler in, my cutter in, and cut in that one. My cutter in and cut in that one. Now I'm going to twist it, still on those lines, nicely lined up. Here's my block 2. I'm going to lay it down before I get in a complete and utter muddle. Here's my next block. There we go, we're coming to the end because it's 5 across. So here I am showing you my mistake. I have made a big error. But the good thing is, wabba-sabby, take joy in imperfection, the whole quilt is going to land up a size that I really want. Let me show you the mistake I made. Here's the cutting. It's hard for me to show you. Here's the stitch and twist. Right. Now, if you want to make 3.5 inch little squares, you cut in that line. Can you see that? If you want to make 5 inch squares, you cut in that line. It's obvious, isn't it? 6.5, that line. Were you shouting at me when I did it? Perhaps you didn't realise. I didn't realise. 8, you cut in this line. I'm not doing 8. I sewed together 13 inch squares, which makes 10.5. 10.5, which means I cut on the outside of this ruler. And so now I'm cutting my squares a lot smaller than they should be, a real lot smaller. It does mean that for every one, I have this amount of fabric left over. So I'm going to carry on. I've lined up my crosses. So you see, this quilt is very easy because when I sewed these squares together, it's just 13 inch squares sewed together in long lines. On the machine, you know, it's so easy. And now look at this block that this has made. You'll see when I show you it. I'm going to carry on cutting and then sew it together. So I've put the backing, which I've washed, right side down towards the floor or the table if you've got a big enough table. Then put your wadding down on top. And then the quilt goes on top of that. So I've made a sandwich, a quilt sandwich. And now I'm going to make sure there's not a crease in the bottom layer or the top layer, and I'm going to start quilting. I want to quilt each one of the windmills separately, and I'm hoping then that it will really make the windmills stand out. And I chose grey for the edging, what we call the binding. You cut 2.5 inch strips and that will just be the edge of the quilt. I think it might bring that out. We'll see. That's a long way off yet. I've got to quilt it. So I'm sitting at my crafty space in front of the window, always a good place to sit, isn't it? And I've sandwiched the quilt together. I never pin the whole quilt. I'll show you. Let me turn you round. Here we are. So I've quilted this half of the quilt. It's along here, if you can see. And now I've got this half left to do. And I find that when I quilt, you know, you have to keep pushing it along. So I would never start at one end, pin the whole lot, because I just find with me, it moves. I'm using, well, I use this tape. It's sticky. It doesn't leave a residue. And that gives you 1/4 inch. All right, I'll do this line here. So I just pop it down there and then pop another bit along. I'm just doing big stitches. I just think it looks nice. I'm using this hand-dyed silk thread, and it goes through the fabric like, it's absolutely gorgeous. It really is. Can you see that? All the different colours. I thought it went quite well with the quilt. And this colour, and then I've got some greens and browns for like the pond life. Yeah, there's a light piece there. I think I've used that over here on the dark. I'll use that on the dark. So that's what I'm doing now, here, the dark. So I shall use this light. For 1, I'm doing 3. 2, 3. So although this is a little bit more expensive because it's pure silk, you get 12 strands, and that goes a long way. And you take the needle to the thread. Don't try to poke the thread through the needle. This has got an exceptionally small hole. There we go, it's gone. Put the needle onto the thread. Right. Make my knot. So I'm going to pop my needle in a little way away from where I want it to come up. Want it to come up there. And then I put my thumb on that. I pull it through, and there's my thread. I'm sitting at the table, so it's nice and supporting for my arm. And I do like a rocking motion. And as I say, I'm not doing little tiny quilting stitches on this. There's a kind of rocking movement. It's quite nice to do. Then I'm going to come along here. I'm holding it. Can you see how I'm pushing it underneath? I'm using my underneath hand to help me with the rocking movement. So the 2 hands are working together. I can't wait to finish this. And because of the mistake, I've got enough for 3 quilts. I've got enough for Tommy and George, and my daughter Nicola wants one, and she's got a little bed for Tommy when he stays the night. I can tear that off and just reposition it. Does that a few times. There we go. Yeah, so she's got a little bed for Tommy when he stays over. And I made one for my daughter Kim for George when he stays over, when he was born. So I've got enough for 3, as I say, 1 for Tommy, 1 for George, and 1 for Nicola. Just because I made that mistake, it would have come out huge. So, well, I'm enjoying it. The reason I chose the large size, the 13-inch squares, and then it comes out to 10.5, is because I wanted these blocks to be big enough to be able to see all the beautiful patterns. So, I mean, if you wanted, you know, if you've got some lovely fabric of your own, you wanted to do that, it makes a big quilt in no time. You could always send it to be long arm quilted if you've got made, you know, a big quilt, and they will sandwich it together for you and beautifully quilt it. Alison at Smartfrogs, who lives around the corner to me, she does a beautiful, beautiful job. So that's it. I'm going to carry on going up and round, finishing that one off, and gradually it's getting done. Do you think it's something you'd like to do? If it is, I hope there's some inspiration here. Well, I've finished quilting my quilt. It's done. Hasn't taken me too long. And now I'm going to cut the edge. I leave a little bit just to fill out the binding. It's the way I was taught. Just leave a little bit, and then when the binding goes over, there's a little bit of that in there. Not a lot. Just a smidgen. And now I'm going to audition for, I'm going to cut it all round, and I'm going to audition for the binding. You cut a 2.5 inch strip, and the binding is going to be about that big. Just a binding. Now, do I want it the same? Let me have a look. Do I want it the same? Looks quite nice the same. Or I thought about grey. So I've got a long strip of grey. I'm going to iron it in half. And then if I choose the grey, or if I choose this, I'm going to, this is 2.5 inches. Iron it in half, or just finger press it if you like, but I'm going to iron it right the way along. I'll join it so that it's long enough to go all the way round, and then you put, let's just say I'm not going to choose that one, I'm going to choose this one. Then you put this the raw edges with the raw edges, and you sew 1/4 inch along. I shall do that on the machine because, you know, you want a good strong, if you haven't got a machine, you can do it by hand, but it's a bit of a tedious job, and you really want a very strong seam. If the raw edges are all together, then when it's sewn on and you come to turn that over, you sew that down, then you've got a very neat edge, neat folded edge, just to do some little hemming stitches along. So I've just written the words for Darling Tommy, Made with Love, March 2024 by Nanny Penny on my with my heat erasable pen. But I realised I haven't, I wrote it on this, I use sandpaper quite a lot in quilting. It holds the fabric nicely. But I haven't left enough to put it into a hoop. So I'm going to iron that out, rewrite it, and I'm going to embroider over that. So I'm back. Well, if you watched the video, you'll have seen what I've made, and here it is. If you skip forward because you didn't want to watch me with my teacher voice, I'll show you anyway. Here it is. I wanted to do big stitches. I wanted to see them. I mean, often in quilting we do beautiful intricate designs and we do small stitches. I didn't want to do that. I really didn't. Yeah, can you see? And it's made lovely. It looks lovely on the back. You've got to see it up close. There we are. I'm pleased with it. I'm thrilled to bits with it, actually. Thrilled to bits. And I did a label. And it wasn't till I'd made the label, I thought, hang on a minute, I always call my quilt something. I always say, you know, a name. For instance, I made this one for Harry. This is a plique. So I hand stitched that on. I got these out of a colouring book. I traced around the different pieces. It's all different. Each one is different. Look, a little rocking horse. He's 24 in August. A singing bird, that's Chirpy. The notes. What else? Oh, sailing ship. Oh, fish, I love the fish. So I selected just a few fabrics and used the same fabrics. I'll put it on the floor and I'll put a thing up, photo up for you. But I called this one Getting to Know You, hand appliqued and hand quilted for the birth of Harrison Michael, born on 22nd of August 2000, weight £7.12, height 20 inches, time 1:29 p.m. and my name. So that was called Getting to Know You because I did all that whilst my daughter was pregnant. And so I just did the label on this and I thought, I haven't called it anything. I haven't named it. So it's called, what is it called? I'll find the label. It's called For Darling Tommy, because that's what I put on it. So that's the name of the quilt. It has to be because I'm not doing another label. For Darling Tommy. Made with love by Nanny Penny. March 2024. And this was something I cut off my mum's nightgown. And I just wanted to, that's his great Nan's. And it's just so, it's so lovely. It's tactile. And so I put that on. I know. So there we are. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm hoping to quilt Nicola's quilt. I've machine pieced it. And very simple. But it'll be nice, I think. Well, I like it anyway. And that's the main thing, isn't it? And I'm going to hand quilt it this week. So that'll be, well, that'll be that. That'll be that. And I then, when I'm in the mood, I shall tackle something else. It's lovely to see you all. I hope you're all right. I know lots of different things are going on for lots of different people. And I do wish you all well. I know you're all in different parts of the world. And it's just lovely. Some of you are watching right from the beginning, episode 1, and you're following my life for the last couple of years. And well, I won't say too much because I'll be in tears. Oh, I haven't shown you those. Oh, I'll tell you what then, I'll put it hanging here. I'll tell you what, I'll put Pete's Desert Island Disc Record 2. I'll put that up here and then I'll show you my my weekly, you know, diary that I make with fabric. Well, it's disc 2 of Desert Island Disc. This is our 3rd start, so he's a bit grumpy now, aren't you?
Nothing wrong with the first 2.
Oh, well, you know. Anyway, I waffled on a bit. So tell me about your record number 2.
Eddie Cochran.
Eddie Cochran?
Well, it's 2.
Okay.
Summertime Blues and Come On Everybody.
Well,
but it's going to have to be Come On Everybody.
Going to have to be Come On Everybody.
Yeah, because it reminds me of at my house. The folks have gone, Come On Everybody, we're going to have a good time. But actually, not really, because Mum and Dad would be there.
Yeah.
And they'd join in. So.
They loved your friends, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Your friends
my
loved
boys,
your Mum and Dad, yeah?
Boys.
She called her my boy. And they were all lined up round the room, weren't they? When you were older, you know. And
well, yeah.
They used
Everybody met at my house. I'll have to text while it's on my mind.
Yeah.
Everybody met at my house. There would be scooters all down the road, a few cars, because some of my mates got cars. And then my Auntie Rose used to come every Saturday, and she loved watching Dixon and Doc Green. And she'd get the ump because they'd all be there. Hello, Auntie Rose, how are you? And they'd wind her up.
Oh, no.
And she'd say, and then we'd all go, and we'd say, oh, go on. That bloke, old Dixon, the doctor, he's a bit of an old geezer for a copper, isn't he? And we'd all pile out and go out wherever we were going. Yeah.
But this year that this record came out is 19...
what was it? Let's think. 1959.
Okay.
And the reason
So you're 14 now?
I'm about 14, yeah.
Okay, 14.
When he died, which was 1960.
Yeah.
I bought the Eddie Cochran Memorial album. Don't know if they'd had it in the States, but it was certainly had it over here.
Okay.
And my brother asked me if he could borrow it. Because I think I don't know why, because he wasn't really a rock man.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said, yeah, of course, go on. It was his money that probably bought it in the first place. Anyway, he put it on the back seat of his car, and he left it out there in the sun. And when I went to get it, it's gone like it's all gone wobbly.
Warped.
Yeah, I didn't get another one. I don't know why I didn't get another one.
That's a shame. But
it just reminds me of that, and I thought, crumbs, you know.
Because he was on the tour, I was reading, with 2 of your absolute favourites.
Oh, well, one of my real favourites.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Georgie Fame.
Oh, that's the man.
Yeah, Georgie Fame. And your other favourite?
Oh, come on.
Joe Brown.
Joe Brown, yeah.
It's hard remembering names, isn't it?
Well, especially when you're me.
Yeah. Joe Brown always closes his gigs, if you like. Well, I don't think he does them anymore. We've been all over to watch.
I don't think he's not playing anymore.
No, getting on now.
He was sitting down last time.
But he always closed his gigs, which left me absolutely crying buckets with I'll See You in My Dreams. And I couldn't even attempt to even say it now because my mum used to sing it. I remember driving back from somewhere with Mum sitting in the back and her beautiful, beautiful voice. I'll see you in my dream. Oh my giddy aunt. And he always closed his shows with that.
Guitar.
Yeah.
Ching, 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 ching. And all the way
and
through,
the mandolin he played, didn't he? He played so much. Then, of course, you got Georgie Fame.
Yeah.
Wow, we've been to see Georgie Fame many a time. To Ronnie Scott's all over. Even in Broadstairs he was here and he was a bit shirty. Do you remember?
Mm.
We've got this tiny little pavilion and he played in there and the first thing he said was, anybody take a photo, I'm off. Yeah. He said, because it does things to me. And we all went like that. And then
somebody did.
Yeah, they did. And he said, right. And, we all went no. And
they chucked that bloke out.
Yeah. So you were 14 with this record.
Yep.
Brings back memories of your brother.
Yeah.
And losing the particular... Well, you can't take an album
It was a big shock.
What was?
When he died.
Oh, I should think.
It was the first time, I think, anybody you know,
It came to your attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
somebody you like. I mean, obviously there was well-known people dying.
Yes.
But
he was 21.
I know. And
on the way to Bath, back from a gig.
Yeah.
No, on the way to London, back from a gig.
Yeah.
And George Martin was driving, and anyway, just lost control. And so you're going to go to your desert island, and you're not going to think about that tragic day and the fact that we lost him.
No.
But Eddie Cochran. But the fact that
come on, everybody.
It just your mates and
yeah, all like that.
Starting to go out, were you? Do you think in that 1959?
In Potters Bar, they built two estates: Tottenham Estate and Edmonton Estate.
Right.
And the Edmonton Estate had their own little hall, and they used to play records on a Monday night.
Okay.
I think it was. And we used to go up. You know, used to go up there. That's at our age.
Yeah.
And the Tottenham Estate had a school hall. The school used to let us go there, and the same thing. So 2 nights of the week we'd be there, you know, playing records and dancing.
You wrote a story about that when Pete's dad died.
Oh yeah.
I cried back then. That was, 24 years ago, or 23 years ago. But when your dad died, Pete started to write some little stories. I have read them on Chinwag. But after this, I'm going to read the one about, that particular place that you're talking about, where we used to...
Chain link fence.
The chain link fence, it's called. So we'll say cheerio now.
Yep.
You're allowed to have that record.
Thank you.
I think that's what they said. No, you can't have it, or you can.
Of course I can have it.
So we're going to say cheerio.
Yep, we are. Cheerio.
Yeah, see you next time.
See you. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that. So I'm going to read you the chain link fence in a minute. But before then, here's my weekly, just giving myself 20 minutes, half an hour on a Sunday and doing... Oh, he's so cute, isn't he? Doing the weekly how I feel. And I write on the back, what happened and how I felt. Right. So it's a weekly diary with fabric, really. I think I had 4 visitors that week. So that was week 8. Week 9. I cut out Tommy's quilt. Marshlands birds in dark citron. That's what I've got on. Marshland birds. So that's that week. Week 10 was a bit of a week. I told you it was. Yes, it's a bit strange, isn't it? Different moods. Enjoyed crafting so much. Tommy's quilt. So that's up to week 10. I'll show you 11 and 12 next time. So I'm going to read you the chain link fence. It makes me cry because it's about him changed into an old man. Well, this was written 23 years ago. So he's even older now. So no time for crying now. That's because we're putting geriatric wards now. Now, onwards and upwards. The old man stared at the chain link fence, the patch of grass in front, and the children's playground by the school. He stared for a long time. Long enough, in fact, for people in their houses nearby to notice him. What on earth was he looking at? Mrs. Driscoll, in one of the houses opposite, noticed him, as did Mr. Hall in the flats alongside. Mrs. Driscoll was so intrigued that she almost scorched her best blouse as she stopped moving the iron. What was he doing? Just standing there, staring. The old man was deep in thought. His mind was not in the present. It had drifted back 50 years. It couldn't be the same fence, could it? Everything else looked the same. He remembered a hot summer's evening, the smell of freshly cut grass and the sound of Buddy Holly singing Old Boy coming from the school hall. It was Monday night. The Monday Club was in full swing, but he wasn't ready to make his entrance just yet. He was waiting. He leant against the chain-link fence and took a packet of 10 senior service cigarettes from his pocket. A new packet of 10. He opened it and, taking a cigarette out, slowly put it to his mouth. The corner, not the centre. That's what girls did. Buddy Holly had changed to Little Richard, belting out, "Good golly, Miss Molly." From his other pocket he took out his lighter. A silver Ronson butane gas lighter he'd bought with money he'd earned from helping the local milkman. Lighting the cigarette, he inhaled deeply, blowing out the smoke through the chain-link fence. Just then the doors of the school hall opened, allowing the sound of Little Richard to increase in volume, and 3 girls came out, tottering on high heels, with skirts at 45 degrees, pushed out by brightly coloured petticoats rinsed in sugar to make them stiff. One of the girls, he remembered, had worn a similar petticoat to school that day and had had a run-in with the girls' head teacher, Miss Martin, commonly known as Molly. "Hi, Peter," she called. "Love your trousers. Can you spare a ciggy?" The trousers had been bought the previous Saturday at Edmonton Green Market. 12-inch bottoms, black cavalry twill, one of only 2 pairs in Potter's Bar. The other pair belonged to his mate, Mick. They'd gone together to buy them. That was the reason for the delay in entering the Monday Club. He was waiting for Mick to make their entrance together. His heart sank, thinking he might have to part with 3 senior service, and then he remembered the 5 players' weights he had. "Hi, Jackie, Muriel, Sue." He greeted the 3 girls. "What's the club like tonight?" "Not bad," Muriel said. "How about that ciggy?" He pulled out the senior service. He was always a sucker for a pretty face. "Thanks," said Muriel. He offered them to Jackie and Sue, but they declined, saying they only smoked filter tipped. He was relieved. "What happened with Molly Martin today?" "She made me take my petticoats off," Muriel answered. "Said they weren't school uniform. I'm going to wear green tomorrow." "What, bottle green?" he answered. This was their school uniform colour. Muriel answered with a giggle. "No, luminous, emerald green, like your socks." "I'll wear my socks tomorrow and we'll go as a matching pair." The old man remembered. They all collapsed laughing against the chain-link fence. "Are you coming in the club?" asked Jackie. "Not yet. I'm waiting for Mick," he replied. "Well, when you do, be sure to have a jive with me," Jackie commanded. The old man remembered he enjoyed dancing with her. They danced instinctively. She seemed to read his mind and would know when he was going to try something new. "Okay, see you in there." It was another 20 minutes before Mick turned up, and when they went into the club it was in full swing. The records had stopped and a local group were playing. 3 guitarists, bass, rhythm and lead guitar, plus drums. The bass guitarist was also the singer, Jimmy Sower, a mate from school. He was good. Whatever happened to him? The old man thought. It was just after he had a dance with Muriel that the fight started. Not an uncommon event. There was usually at least one a month, and sometimes more. He recognised the participants. One was in his year at school. The other was one of the Barnett boys. It started inside, but, as usually happened, landed up outside with a crowd of onlookers jostling to get a better view. This particular fight was won by the local lad, who received the congratulations of his mates whilst leaning on the chain-link fence, slightly blooded from being nutted, but the victor all the same. Then it was all back into the dance hall to enjoy the rest of the evening. "Are you all right, mister?" A voice cut into the old man's train of thought. Looking round, he saw a young lad of about 14 staring at him. "Are you all right?" the boy said. "Because my Nan says you've been standing there for 20 minutes without moving, and she's getting worried." Only 20 minutes, he thought. A whole evening so long ago, in 20 minutes. "I was just standing here wondering how old that chain-link fence is," he answered the boy. "You're nuts," the boy replied, and walked off to tell his Nan. "Maybe I am," the old man thought, "but I wasn't when I was your age," thinking back to that night all those years ago, and he began walking slowly to catch his train home. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to say cheerio. There might be a little film if I see Tommy to give him the quilt, and I'll put that up at the end. If I don't see Tommy to give him the quilt, then it'll just be thanks for watching. See you next time. So I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Do take care, and thanks for being here to listen to me, and thanks for sharing all your thoughts with all your lovely comments. Bye-bye.
Can I have the tomatoes, please? You got them? You clever boy.
Is that yummy?
Yummy, it's very hot.
It's not hot, darling.
Heavens.
Oh, good boy. Good boy. Have his teeth done. You gonna do them?
I'm a crocodile, I'm a crocodile. I want my teeth looked clean.
That is gorgeous.
Can you see the birds, Tom? Can you see the birds on the quilt?
That's your quilt.
Can you see the birds? Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. There's a squirrel. A little bird, look.
Oh, look.
And a frog.
Oh, it is beautiful, Nan. Oh, it's going to have to stay downstairs now, isn't it? Sorry, Tom, that's not going on your bed.
Oh, that's going on the settee.
Yes. Oh, Kai's going to love it. Oh, Tom, look how gorgeous.
Well, as long as Tom's got his toothbrush, he's
Oh, that's
he doesn't mind.